Joseph Stalin, born in 1878, was the dictator of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, USSR, from 1929 to 1953 following the death of Vladimir Lenin. Under Stalin, the Soviet Union was transformed from a peasant society into an industrial and military superpower. The means by which Stalin got to this point in his rule was through terror, the five-year plan, and dekulakization, during which millions of his own citizens died during his brutal reign. Stalin's censorship of the arts and media kept his people from receiving the entire truth, and one of the only types of media the people receive news or facts of what is going on in the USSR is from the newspaper Pravda. Many artists in the Soviet Union were constrained, and they had to be approved by the Soviet government as well as be approved by Stalin himself. One Soviet artist named Dmitry Shostakovich was greatly criticized. Dmitry Dmitrievich Shostakovich was a Russian pianist and composer of the Soviet period. He is regarded as one of the major composers of the 20th century. Shostakovich achieved fame in the Soviet Union under the patronage of Soviet Chief of Staff Mikhail Tukhachevsky, but later had a complex and difficult relationship with the government due to his compositions. Nevertheless, he received accolades and state awards and served in the Supreme Soviet of the RSFSR and the Supreme Soviet of the Soviet Union. During Stalin's rule, Shostakovich suffered two major denunciations, in 1936 and 1948. And numerous smaller attacks were interspersed throughout his career. His music was frequently deemed formalist, counter-revolutionary, anti-Soviet, or pro-Western. These epithets came in varying degrees of intensity, and their issuers more than once threatened Shostakovich's life. The artistic constraints imposed on the Shostakovich forced him to think deeply about how to express himself truthfully within an external guise of party orthodoxy. For example, Shostakovich's opera Lady Macbeth of the Mtsensk district attained enormous popularity in 1934 and 1935, and in these years Shostakovich became a celebrated name in urban households, being approved by the Soviet government and Stalin himself. Stalin attended a performance in early 1936, and the next day, an angry anonymous article appeared prominently in Pravda, the main source of media information for the Soviet people, called Muddle instead of Music, which viciously attacked the opera as vulgar and primitive. Shostakovich fearfully read Pravda, carefully tracking nuances in the party's stance toward him. It is in this period that Shostakovich first experienced the brunt of Stalin's terror. After some time, he released the Fifth Symphony of 1937, which was in a simplified design tolerable to party bosses, popular with audiences, and personally satisfying. According to Lenin, every artist, everyone who considers himself an artist, has the right to create freely according to his ideal, independently of everything. However, we are communists and we must not stand with folded hands and let chaos develop as it pleases. We must systematically guide this process and form its result. The Nazi invasion of the Soviet Union in June 1941 came as a complete surprise to most Soviets. Stalin's administration was forced to react quickly and devote all its resources into the war effort. As a result, Soviet music witnessed a relaxation of restrictions on expression. This period was a break from the policies of the 1930s. The Communist Party, seeing as it was allied with several Western powers, focused on patriotic propaganda rather than anti-Western rhetoric. With a restored connection to the West, Soviet music experienced a new wave of progressivism and experimentation. Composers responded to their new freedoms with music laden with themes of patriotism and military triumph. Wartime music featured a re-emergence of grand symphonic works compared to the simplistic song operas. Sergei Prokofiev, Nikolai Myaskovsky, R.M. Khachaturian and Shostakovich each composed war symphonies. Chamber music, a genre that had fallen out of favor in the previous decade, was also revitalized. Wartime music aimed to boost Soviet morale both at home and on the battlefront, and it was successful, especially as the Soviet army began to gain momentum against the Nazis in 1942. Stalin's censorship of the arts led to many people believing in him less and less and making him out to be more harsh than initially promised. Therefore making him out to be more of a villain than a hero to the Soviet people. Artists especially feared him in fear of being ridiculed and their reputations ruined.